Superman has a dog, and he's not the only one sporting superpowers to protect the pet world's truth, justice, and Purina way. Just like their human or alien caretakers, when they get the big screen treatment, they've come with references and Easter eggs big and small. Let's strap on that cosmic flea collar and dig up some bones. Ooh, I mean details. Come on, you know what I meant.
Still working out the kinks. I didn't see anything.
Krypto wasn't the only super mutt that came from the comics. Animation fans, specifically the ones that have been clamoring for a Batman Beyond movie, would recognize the name Ace as belonging to old man Bruce Wayne that helps him keep his compound safe. Ace actually dates back to the same year as Krypto as a stray dog involved in a crime that Batman was solving. Ace has moved around breeds from German Shepherd, Great Dane, or Great Dane and Mastiff mix to the movie's 1/8 boxer. Maybe he just keeps getting new dogs and just calls them all the same thing. You know, he does that with his other sidekick. From a certain perspective, animals come with their own set of superpowers, like a tortoise's massive shell that protects the notoriously slow creature. Merton actually predates Krypto and Ace the Bat Hound by over 10 years, the product of a very Twilight Zone style bet about what happens when you give the laziest person you can find superpowers. You also have to give his shell an AI to push him to do good deeds as the terrific What's-It. He is a she in the movie, and of course gets her powers with everyone else when Lulu drops the orange kryptonite but retains the spotty shell and the wild speed. It's no ninja training or ooze mutation, but it'll do. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape her sight. Beware her power, Green Lantern's light! In this case, that's Jessica Cruz, who inherited the role after some multiverse crime doing and ring swapping. At the end of the movie, she ends up with a squirrel companion named Chip, which turns out is not a unique thing for Green Lanterns. He was a rodent-like being who was given a power ring by the Guardians of the Universe to protect his homeworld, eventually becoming the Green Lantern for that district. Poor Ignatius the Iguana. Lex Luthor's pet counterpart had to take a back seat to the evil mastermind guinea pig test subject Lulu. When she's foiled by the Justice League, the League of Super Pets, and Lex himself, she decides to hit the power-up button with the kryptonite, turning her into a giant guinea pig with kryptonite spikes. The look is reminiscent to the one Superman villain to rack up a big W against Superman, Doomsday. Doomsday is a primordial Kryptonian who adopted the whatever kills you makes you stronger when you're brought back to life until he was completely unstoppable, forcing Superman to sacrifice himself to kill Doomsday. Krypto finds himself in a similar position when he realizes that the lethal to both parties solar pop punch is the only way to stop the evil rodent. We sing songs about hair, having long, glorious hair, or Becky with the good hair. Not as much about the bald head. It tends to revolve around genetics, either the bald person's genetics or their troubling attitude about genetics. So naturally, Lex Luthor's signature bald head needed an explanation. And it's genetics. Well, it's genetic experimentation. As a boy genius and Superboy fan in Smallville, he manages to create the most basic form of life only to set fire to the lab. When Superboy rescued Lex, chemicals got on him that robbed him of his hair. Lex blamed Superboy for the lab catastrophe in the way that someone who refuses responsibility does, and alas, an arch-nemesis relationship was born. Like her mentor, Lulu also loses her hair at the hand of Lex Luthor's mad science experiments. One of the big running gags in the movie is Kevin Hart's Ace telling the other shelter pets that he knows of a farm upstate where they can be free. For anyone who has ever lost a pet as a kid or had to explain the loss of a pet to their kid, yeah, you might be familiar with the Farm Upstate. Essentially, going to a farm upstate is the pet version of saying someone went to a better place instead of dying. Just like the Farm Upstate meant to avoid making a child upset, Ace's Farm Upstate does not actually exist. Another reference to farms and animals is when the shelter pets talk about the nature of this animal farm, to which the Pig PB says that she doesn't see anything problematic about it. This is, of course, a nod to George Orwell's novel Animal Farm, where the animals on a farm revolt to create a more equitable society for them, but then quickly a pig named Napoleon gathers power with the help of Doberman Pinscher puppies that he raised, modifying Animal Farm's motto of all animals are created equal, with some animals are more equal than others. Composer Carl Stalling managed to churn out so many scores for the Looney Tunes shorts, mostly by developing a shorthand that relied heavily on making musical references to popular music at the time. Stalling was so reliant on the musical pun that Warner Brothers artists like Chuck Jones complained about the predictability. If a woman in red showed up, Lady in Red would play. League of Super Pets gets in on the musical pun game. Getting excited for his morning walk, Krypto adds lyrics to John Williams' iconic theme to 1978's Superman the movie. Danny Elfman's Batman theme from the 1989 Tim Burton movie makes an appearance, along with a very Burton-inspired Batmobile. Wonder Woman double dips with a touch of her 2017 theme, as well as hints of the second best superhero theme song ever made, the theme to the 70s Wonder Woman TV show. We all know what number 1 is, though, yeah? 1967, Spider-Man theme, of course. Yeah, come on, fight me. Music cues weren't the only throwbacks to other renditions of the superheroes. While there's few things more iconic than Superman's symbol, just like his brooding teammate, it's gone through updates and changes through different iterations. The 1940 series of animated Superman shorts have become influential in shaping superhero cartoons and Superman himself. As a nod to Fleischer's studio influence, League of Super Pets Superman sports the Fleischer cartoon's minimalist symbol with a black background. Long before it became vogue for celebrities to buy mobile services and vodka companies, actor Paul Newman took his own swing at a side hustle. Only, he already had a side hustle as a driver for Nissan in the IMSA and Trams Am racing series, and was an in-demand, highly paid movie star who didn't need salad dressing money. So instead, his Newman's Own branded food products would have 100% of their tax profits donated to various charities. While the main plotline for the Justice League shows up to ruin Lulu's plans, other members make their presence known. Preparing for a night of watching the Great British Bake Off with his bestie Kal-el, he microwaves a bag of Hawkman's own microwave popcorn. Hawkman is not the only superhero with a side hustle in the League of Super Pets. After all, like the crash test dummies say in Superman's song, Superman never made any money fighting Solomon Grundy, come on now. We get a peek at Superman's record collection, which we do see an album simply called Lance. That would be Sarah Lance, otherwise known as the Black Canary, who defeats evil with her powerful sonic blast. Remember late December in 2019, where we thought the worst thing that was gonna happen to theaters was the adaptation of the long-running Broadway musical Cats? Despite the goofiness, Cats held the record for longest run on Broadway, and its minimalist poster image of two cats' eyes became one of the most recognizable Broadway show images. In the background, we can see that Catwoman has gone the way of Batman, Spider-Man, and Steve Rogers in getting her own musical with the poster in the style of Cats, but instead reading Catwoman. Jonah Hex is a character from the DC universe from the 19th century, a disfigured and grumpy bounty hunter bound by a code of honor to protect the innocent, even if he's not thrilled by it. Before he went around snapping half of all people out of existence or traveling back in time to kill a mutant that started a bloody war, Josh Brolin played the character alongside Megan Fox. In Metropolis's version of Times Square, we get to see a steakhouse named after the surly bounty hunter. Who would not want a steak named after a guy with a disfiguring burn on half of his face, huh? It's perfect. None of the Robins made it into the movie, but a favorite spot for at least one of the Robins did. Before Tim Drake took up the Harlequin mask and colorful tights of Robin the Boy Wonder, he and his non-superhero friends would hang out at the Gotham Heights restaurant O'Shaughnessy's. As the DC Universe's biggest fast food franchise, it's only natural that O'Shaughnessy's appears in Metropolis. Gotham might not seem that far away to open a new location for your popular Irish pub, but that can't be said for the new Al's Diner location in Metropolis. The original Al's Diner resides in Space City Robinson, the pride and joy of owner Al, naturally, and his wife Darlene. Just like Bob's Burgers, Al's Diner has had to have a reopening and a reopening and a reopening. Mostly because every time he opens, his first customer is the unruly bounty hunter of space, the main man, Lobo. Even with a super pet battle outside, the Metropolis location is still probably safer. If O'Shaughnessy's is not your cup of tea in the DC universe, then you can go to the second largest burger chain that started out in Coast City, Big Belly Burger. Big Belly Burger has a Big Belly presence during the big showdown in Metropolis. Coast City isn't just the home of Big Belly Burger, but also the home of test pilot and Green Lantern ring holder Hal Jordan. Before he was going around wielding Green Lantern's might, he was a test pilot for DC's foremost aviation company, Ferris Air, who would use the nearby Edwards Air Force Base to test their advanced aircraft designs. Ferris Air has a few signs throughout Metropolis, so they're the first one that you think of for your advanced experimental aircraft. Over in Central City, Missouri, there's a city whose hero is a little more amped up, the fastest man alive, Barry Allen the Flash. When you have high speed, superhero burgers would just slow him down. Well, given his super speed metabolism, probably not. Either way, Central City is home of the coffee chain Jitters, which has opened up a branch in Metropolis, and a big one at that. There's a bit of an advertising roundup in the action sequence staple, a wall of billboards. The most obvious is the giant billboard featuring Bruce Wayne. Underneath we see Batman frenemy Selina Kyle's jewelry store. Gotta launder those ill-gotten gains somehow. The Metropolis Meteors baseball team advertises its Meteor Nights games. In the DC universe, the Meteors joined Major League Baseball as an expansion team in 1962. To save time, Metropolis's football team has the same name. Sundollar, Jitters competition, has their symbol on the billboard wall. Gin Gold Soda, the soda of choice for the residents of the DC universe, joins the group, as well as another Ferris Air logo. There's Max Field, who was part of Jinx World, but that seems like a stretch. If you know, it's a reference. Maxfield Parrish, whose bright light and colors were a guide for the look of the movie. Yeah, seems like a stretch. Dante is the name of Cisco Ramon's middle brother, aka Vibe. No, not much reason for him to have a billboard though. As we can see, the world of DC's League of Super Pets is a busy place with a lot going on. It seems like they got a visit from the fifth dimension just before the events of the movie happen. We see Lois wrapping up a report on a supervillain who could be defeated by tricking him into saying his own name backwards. Why? Don't worry about it. This Aesop Fables style supervillain is known to annoy Superman more than actually try and do him harm. But like any other nearly omnipotent being from another dimension, he doesn't have to mean harm to do harm. Thankfully, it's remarkably easy to trick him into saying his name backwards. Without DC Comics paving the way, there probably would be no Marvel Comics. The two comic book giants have had a friendly and sometimes not friendly rivalry over the years. They've even done a crossover or two. There were a handful of nods to their rival. When Superman irons his date shirt with his heat vision, he jokes that he should be called Iron Man. Ace wishes that he could have gotten other powers, including a magic hammer like Thor's. When listing the possible powers, including ridiculous ones, a character suggests throwing playing cards really hard, which is a slight dig at fan favorite Mutant Gambit. The guinea pigs, Keith and Mark, with their fire and ice powers, reflect the on-screen friendship between the X-Men's Iceman and Pyro. Just like lightsabers, Kryptonite has a deep and somewhat confusing rainbow of colors and effects. Orange Kryptonite appears in number 4 of Krypto the Super Dog, this time being wielded by one of Selina Kyle's cats, the ones with the superpowers and penchant for crime, Isis. Here's what should be an uncontroversial opinion. Batman is really bad at being a loner. He's always had Alfred. That wasn't enough, so he endangered a series of minors as his sidekick Robin. His secret best friend Commissioner Gordon has a daughter that takes fashion cues from Batman and joins the fight. League of Pets has a little fun with the massive entourage the supposed loner Batman has by having him list them as exceptions to Batman working alone, including whoever Morgan Freeman played. Referring to Freeman's turn as Lucius Fox in the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, Fox is of course Batman's tech guy who helps funnel Wayne Industries tech into the crime-fighting gear without the board noticing. There was a time when the scariest monster we could imagine was a being that could kill you in your dreams that he also controls. But that's because we had not considered giving a kitten the ability to blow things up. That happens to Whiskers, who joins Lulu on her evil master plan. While she's still hunting down the awkward League of Super Pets, she dips into the well of some of the greatest taunts in cinema. She first starts chanting the nursery rhyme kids sing about Freddy in Nightmare on Elm Street. Then, as she detonates cars, she uses the taunt that Luther uses on the Warriors, asking them to come out and play. Director Jared Stern was a big fan of SNL's Kate McKinnon, so when he got her to voice Lulu, he noted that she liked doing old dramatic actress characters. When Stern and McKinnon got together to discuss the character, they watched a trailer for the movie Lady in a Cage, where one of the characters cries out,
"I am trapped in small private elevator."
McKinnon repeated the line, and they agreed to build the voice of Lulu from there. From the same interview with JoeBlow.com, Stern talks about when he pitched the show to Warner Brothers 8 years ago. Often in a pitch, they'll use certain actors as a shorthand for the type of characters that they're talking about. So when Stern described the type of personality that Krypto would have, he said Dwayne Johnson. Years later, not only is Johnson voicing Krypto, but co-producing the movie. There are so many more pet heroes, this could be a sub-franchise. There's a whole other group of dogs. Supergirl has a horse named Comet. They could help Detective Chimp solve a case with Bat Cow. Oh yeah, you heard me.